Thank you, councillors. We're back in open session. Could I get the front door open? Sorry. Considered two items in committee of the whole. Item 8.1 being Barony Park Sport and Community Facility Expressions of Interest. Do I have a mover of the recommendations? Councillor Vergara, seconded Councillor Quinn. Any discussion? If not, all those in favour? Against? Carried unanimously. Against? Councillor Williams, sorry, missed you. We considered item 8.2, the minutes of the extraordinary meeting 4503 on the 16th of February 2022. Moved Councillor Williams, seconded Councillor Vergara. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against? That is carried unanimously. Councillors, any general business or questions without notice?
Yes, Mr Mayor. These are probably questions to the General Manager. Is he still there?
I'm still here, councillors. Yes.
Okay. Now, I asked 3 questions at the conclusion of the last meeting.
Yes.
And I'm just I'm seeking further clarification of those questions that I asked. So the first one was regarding the.
So, councillor, I suggest you put it in writing, and then we'll provide the
Well,
answer.
I did put it in writing, and it hasn't been answered in the business paper.
Oh, sorry, I thought we answered them, but if we haven't clarified it to your satisfaction, we're happy to go back and have a look at anything else.
So, what, you won't address that now?
Well, I'll try to, but normally questions get tabled, and then we come back with them.
Okay, well, I'll just start. It'll only take a second to answer them.
Yep.
So was there a risk assessment carried out prior to the construction process? And if so, please provide councillors with a copy of the report. So
yes, there is, and Kent Stewart's and I discussed that this afternoon. He'll circulate that to you.
Okay, so there is a report, and that'll be circulated. Beauty. And there was 2 ambulances there last Thursday again, by the way.
Yes.
So you're probably aware of that. Okay, that clarifies that one. The next one was the Council e-newsletter. The first question I asked was who initiated or requested this change of format? So I've got an answer there that these changes were discussed with the General Manager and agreed. I want to know who initiated or requested this change of format.
Sorry, it was discussed with the Mayor and agreed.
So who initiated it?
Well, it was a general discussion between both of us when we were discussing how we communicate with the community. And so, where did it, who initiated it? We're both in the same room at the same time.
So it was a mutual decision made by the 2 of you.
Well, Councillor Quinn, I might just say, the format hadn't changed. The inclusion of a mayoral message, as is normal in every publication that is put out by council, usually the newsletter that goes in, the physical newsletter has a mayoral message. The TWT articles have a mayoral message. I don't see how. I don't actually understand what the crux of the issue is.
Well, the newsletter historically has had a mayoral message, and it did right up until the election. But it wasn't from the Mayor, it was from the council, and the Mayor had the opportunity at the end of the newsletter to have a comment. The format that I'm seeing is totally contrary to that.
So it is a new format. That's what's coming out now.
The newsletter is not in a different format than it was.
It is in a different format to what it has been
just
for the
includes
last
a mayoral
3
message.
years since council put it out. It's in a different format.
And what's your issue?
Well, I will show you exactly what the different format is.
Yes,
but now it is a Hunters Hill Council newsletter from the Mayor. It is not a Hunters Hill Council newsletter. All you've got to do is go back and look at all the previous newsletters in the previous term of council to see how it's different. It's not rocket science. So clearly there's a decision being made to change the format of the newsletter. So anyway, we can sort out that with a notice of motion, that's fine. So I've got an answer to that question now. That's all I need to know. I still don't know why the change was deemed necessary, what wasn't functioning before, but anyway, that can be dealt with. The third question I had was regarding the data that was used in some of the electoral material. Now, to cut to the chase, we've got some residents who received electoral material prior to the election who say that they have never provided their personal data to you, Mr. Mayor, or a website associated with you, and which is the site from which this email came from. And they want to know, how did that data get to where it is? So we need answers to that.
I'm sorry, councillor. Are you inferring, because as far as I'm concerned, the response in the paper that there has been no data breach of council answers your question with great clarity. Now, if you want to raise an allegation, I would suggest you do that through the Office of Local Government.
No, I'll do it through another way, but I want to know how did, and I can give you the names of these people and their email addresses. They want to know, how did their data end up in that system that they got emails? That's what they want to know.
Perhaps you need to provide the names, a copy.
Yeah, no, I can do all that.
In a formal complaint, if you'd like to. I mean, I don't really. I mean, you're alleging something.
I'm asking a question about how the data got to where it was.
You're alleging that the data was misused, and you've referenced me.
I am asking. Yeah, it's because it's an account that has your home address on it, on the footer of it.
Yeah, but it has to have any electoral material that goes out has to have unapproved by and a.
It's not an approved by. It's a MailChimp account. It says Hunter Hill Council, 50 George Street, Hunters Hill. That's what it says.
50 George Street.
Or what 10 George Street, sorry. 10 George Street, Hunters Hill. That's what it says on the footer of it. And then when someone goes to unsubscribe from it, it takes them back to an account that has MC on it. Now, these people want to know, how did their data get into that system? That's what they want to know. And
well,
it says
again, I would raise that complaint with the relevant party in written form.
Okay, so I'm clarifying here, also clarifying that any data that is collected by this council, such as Google Forms, for example, MailChimp, SurveyMonkey, it only goes into the council system. It does not get used for any other purpose. That's what I want to clarify.
That is the case.
Okay, because these people say they gave their data for that purpose and they haven't given it for any other purpose to do with council.
Well, I actually don't really understand where you're going with this, but
okay, I'll make that clear.
You can make a complaint if you deem it necessary, but I dare say it will come up empty.
Okay.
Would those people have to come forward?
They're prepared to. Great. They're prepared to. Okay.
Councillor Vergara.
Question without notice, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, in written form or just.
Can I just put it verbally? It's almost a two-word answer. At the last meeting, on the recommendation of council staff, there was a recommendation of council staff that the road reserve adjacent to 10 Lloyd Avenue, Hunters Hill, be sold to the adjoining owner, subject to an independent valuation. That recommendation was deferred on the motion of councillors Quinn and Williams. My question is in two parts. Is the offer, the subject of that recommendation, still open for acceptance by council? And number two, if the offer is not open for acceptance, are there any other existing offers capable of acceptance by council?
The General Manager, Acting General Manager.
So just my understanding is that we've had correspondence, well, it's not my understanding, I've seen the correspondence where the owner of 10 Lloyd says they no longer wish to deal with council on the matter, given the way they've dealt with it. If council was of the opinion that there is a reason to move forward with that sale, then we would go back and approach the owner again. But at this stage, we've stopped all negotiations at their request.
So the answer is no. The offer's been withdrawn and there's no existing.
No, there's nothing's there now because of council's resolution.
Right.
Okay. Was there a formal valuation, independent valuation done of that piece of land?
No, but the report clearly stated that.
Subject to an independent, the motion was subject to an independent valuation.
That's right.
And that motion was deferred.
Now, in that email exchange, which I was copied into, the owner of the property said that there were valuations done. So I was a little perplexed, therefore, because it wasn't in the report that there was a valuation done. I can only assume that the valuation was done perhaps by the owner of the property, and an assessment was done by a council officer and they agreed on that figure. But I can't see where there was any valuation done.
But the motion was subject to an independent
No,
valuation.
it was. No, I know. But what I'm saying is it came back in the correspondence, in the email correspondence that the general manager's talking about from the owner, that he said there was a valuation done. Well,
we're still in open council. So
I know, I'm aware of that. I'm aware of that.
Direct everything, either question to the chair or if you want to ask questions of council.
Okay, so I simply want to know then, was there a valuation done? And the general manager has answered that question. No, there wasn't.
Not by council. The council had, I'm sure the owner had some valuations done that were referred to us. We've had a number of valuations done on other sites, Vernon Street, where we have moved forward with some sales. We use some of that to sort of base our valuations. Obviously, there's only one willing buyer in these, so we're trying to get the value up as high as we possibly can. And hence why we said, look, we're getting close to what we think is fair and reasonable based on our experience. And if council's of the mind, then we will go and get a proper final valuation, which obviously costs money. And we would then, subject to that valuation, you could proceed.
Okay. My understanding, if I may, with such things is you have a valuation before and a valuation after, once the site is consolidated. And that gives you the difference between the two. That's the normal practice with such valuations. That's my understanding.
Councillor Williams. Councillor Williams.
Through you to the acting general manager, do we have a policy in place for disposal of remnant liens?
Not at this stage. It's still being formed. There's drafts floating around with the new general manager starting on next Monday. That was something that we were holding back for them to be able to have some input into as well.
And how can, question through you, Mr. Mayor, how can we proceed with disposal of land if we don't have a policy to measure that disposal?
Well, the only reason we brought the last two up is because, in my opinion, they're no-brainers. Simple as that. And we need to get, we know there's a shortfall in our budget that we need to fund. There's still assets to be funded, asset renewal to be funded. We're trying to move things forward. 190,000 at Lloyd would go a long way to resheeting and fixing up roads that are actually in our infrastructure asset strategy. And obviously,
I think the acting general manager is in debate here.
He's making a comment based on your
comment, councillors.
You asked him the question.
I've asked the question. I'm just giving you the answer. And the same with the one tonight is that, at the end of the day, we know that there's a huge backlog in community facilities improvements that we need to do, and we've got to fund it somehow. It's not going to come
Councillor
Through you, Mr. Mayor, could to the general manager, could the $190,000 proceeds have been used to fund, for example, the development of a climate first policy?
No.
I think point of order, Mr. Mayor. Normally questions.
Yes, in the usual meeting practice, we submit questions without notice in written form, and they are provided back to council at the subsequent meeting. So if we could keep that practice, I think it might be a meetings up at the end. I will just say this will be the last meeting that our acting general manager is our acting general manager. So I'd just like to say a huge thank you to Nick Tobin for the last 6 months stepping in, or 6 or more months, I should say, stepping in to the role. It's been a pleasure to work with him. And he has provided council an incredible service during his time, and hopefully will be backing Mitchell Murphy into his position when he arrives next week. That being said, any other business? If not, I close the meeting at 9:50.